Sherry. I'm coming at you for the weekly reading for Angel's Whisper, and I'm sitting outside. I saw that the last time I was out here and I tried to show you my fountain, I was pointing at something completely different, so I'm going to try and let you see. I don't know how else I can do this properly, but I'm going to walk right around it. This is my little fountain. Oh, look at that. Look what somebody has put there. Oh, wow, that's a huge message to me. Wow, it's stuck in there. Okay, so the bird that's in it is a crane. And the crane, that's amazing, you guys. I look at this fountain. I gotta go get the pump today. I went the other day and I couldn't find one, but I'm just overwhelmed by that. I didn't see that, and I wonder who put it there. The crane is reminding us to stand on our own 2 feet. It's a bird that's very comfortable in the water. It's a bird that's very comfortable with being patient. They can stand for hours still before striking and getting their prey. They're very, very patient. They know when to strike. So that's your message, is knowing the importance of when to strike and how to be patient. That what's coming to you, that's what is yours is coming to you. It's a very regal bird. There's a lot more about it. I'm completely overwhelmed right now. I've got a lot of things going through my head, so I want to do our reading, but I wanted to show you the castle. When I look at that, when I look at it, I see happily ever after. And that's what it's telling me, is that I just need to be patient, and what's coming to me is going to be mine. So, and look around again today. Out here, it's a beautiful, beautiful day. Oh, Liger's in the window. He wants to come out. I didn't leave the door open for him. But I'm using a new deck. You guys will be thrilled to know. I got so hooked on the Archangel Power deck because I love it so much. But I'm using a different deck, and it's actually it's called Guardian Angel and tarot cards, and it's by Doreen Virtue and Radley Valentine. And I have all of Doreen's decks, and I mean, not to speak ill of anybody, but you know, I'm kind of like over it, and I didn't think I'd really be getting any more of her things, but I really like when she does her readings with Radley, because it's the male and female perspective. I like having both sides, the yin and the yang thing. I just like the whole balance of it. So I looked at this deck once before, and I thought, eh. And then I was guided back to it, actually. I went to my little store here called Lady the Lake, and I went looking for something else specifically, and I saw this, and I really like the messages that come from this deck. So it doesn't have the same kind of cards, and I'll show it to you. We'll take our cards. We don't have, it's a really big deck. Okay, it's going to be that one. You'll see the cards aren't very, you know, there's not a lot for me to read in them. But there's a little message, but the Spirit will drop down to me the messages that I meant to give you. And so this is 3 of action. And the message is basically that things are working out beautifully. And the little boy's got a ship in his hand, and there's yellow roses at the bottom. So basically his ship has come in. So it's when your ship comes in, it's time for you to, you know, you've done what was in the past, and now it's time for you to move on and decide what is your next adventure going to be. He's down at the beach, you know, and now that the ship's in, he's been sailing his ship around, and now that that's come in, now what is your next project, or what is it that you next want to do? You may want to continue to do the work that you have been working with at this time, or you might decide to go in a completely different direction. And what they're saying is that you should be willing to travel if necessary for your work. I've been starting to do that with my work, so I understand that. I'm going to let you guys look around, and I want to see if there's anything else that Doreen and Radley have to say. I'm going to let you look this way. Whoa, I'm dropping everything. I hope that you guys can see when... and I don't quite know how to work this book yet. So hopefully I can find something in our lifetime. So basically, because your ship has come in, they're saying that, you know, success is wonderful, but they don't want you to sit back and rest about that. They want you to, you know, be proud of your accomplishments, but be ready to move into a new direction. You know, we're never supposed to be in a place of stasis. We're always supposed to be moving forward. And they're saying it's safe to build upon your accomplishments. Whatever you want to do, you can, like we said before, you can choose to stay in the same course of action or the same job or the same path that you were on, or you can choose to go in a completely different direction. And they're basically confirming that things will be turning out as you expected. And they want to, they're asking again, funny that we saw the Crane Totem, but they're asking for, that there's a need for patience at this time. So I'm going to ask for another card from the deck and see. And this one is, I hope I'm holding this right, 7 of Abundance. Okay, so you can see, 3 of Action was the first one. So the number 3 speaks about the archangels being with you. So the archangels that you possibly work with, I work with, specifically I work with Archangel Michael. He's my favorite. But whatever archangel is around you, that's what the number 3 denotes. And this, being the number 7, 7 denotes you're on the right path. So 7 of Abundance, and they're showing this little a little girl helping her older sister, and they're in the garden, and they're reaping what they've been sowing. It's time to pull up what they've planted. They've got a basket filled with vegetables, and so all their hard work that they've invested has paid off. So what they're saying for you is, they're asking you to be patient. Again, here we get. And sometimes the dreams that we have grow slowly. And they're asking you not to worry, but that the hard work that, you've put in is going to bring a beautiful harvest, like we're seeing here. It's summertime now here, and the basket's full, and these are really beautiful green. Everything has grown beautifully for them. So it's a good time to prepare, because at this point, like we said, with the first message that we got, we're getting acknowledgement of the accomplishments and that things have been working out very well for us. So again, they're saying prepare, because things are going to move forward. You know how there's always a lull before the storm. So if we feel like things have been kind of like in a moment of stasis, it's because it's a time of planning and looking forward and trying to see where we want to go in our next adventure. And that's what they're saying here again. So they're asking you to be patient if things aren't moving quickly as you thought. Sorry, I've got like a hair that's floating around my face. As you thought, but they soon will be moving forward. And they're saying that things are. It's the time of downtime in between. You can't constantly be going 24/7. Things move forward, and then they slow down, and then they move forward, and then they slow down. And so this is a time of sitting down and figuring out where exactly you want to go. Like with the first card, your ships come in. Now, which adventure do you want to go on? What is it that you want to do next? But they're asking you to follow your passions. They said that maybe perhaps you might want to take more lessons, classes, seminars, go back to school, learn something to add to the gifts that you already have. But what they're saying is the most important thing is that whatever you're going to be doing, it's got to be something that's going to make you happy. We need to follow our passion, whatever makes us happy. If it's not going to make us happy, we're going to be miserable at it, and we're not going to be good at it. You're always good at what makes you happy. And it reminds me of, I remember I told you guys about when I took my roommate's daughter to go see The Last Unicorn, and we spoke to the author who was sitting there, and he was, signing all the books, and he was talking to us, and how he talked about when he was a young man, how he, his brother and his cousins and his sister and everybody, they were very, very talented. And one was one was a cellist in the New York Harmony. One was a nuclear physicist. Both of his parents were very artistic. And he said, I didn't have any artistic skills. He says, but I could write. And he says, and I did. And he goes, and I didn't make very much money at it. He goes, but I loved what I did. And he goes, and my parents never lost faith in me. He goes, they always seemed to believe in me. And so what he wrote down on the CD, he says, I want you to know what I'm writing in case you can't read what I write. He says, I want you to know that it says, do what you came here to do and follow your passion. So this is this message as well. They're asking you to follow your passion. And he got lucky and turned it into a movie. But he said, he lived his whole life and he didn't make a lot of money on it, but he loved what he did. And I'm not making a ton of money, but I love what I do. I stopped working at the barbershop again, and I'm doing this full time, and I love it. This is my path, and this is what I meant to do. So you may not be moving into a path or a career, or maybe you've left a job, or maybe you've been fired from a job, or maybe it's fallen apart where you were making a lot of money, but you really weren't that happy, because it wasn't your passion, it wasn't your soul's path. So maybe you're going to be doing something that's not going to be bringing in as much money. Maybe you're going to have to downsize, maybe you're going to have to simplify, but you'll be doing what you love. So that's what they're saying is the most important. It has to be emotionally rewarding for you. And whatever's emotionally rewarding for you will be also emotionally rewarding for others. And they're asking for you to be maybe part of a teamwork, a committee kind of project where you can you'll be getting recognition for the things that you're seeking. You know, work along with others of like mind. Like I work at home alone, but I have a friend. I have several friends that I associate with all the time online, spiritual people, and we share our ideas and we build each other up, and it's amazing. And my friend Diane House, she got me going on Keen, which is the I guess it's a psychic hotline, you want to call it, but it's an online thing, and she helped me. I didn't even know her, and she was connected to help me. So that's getting together with people of like mind. And now we talk all the time about different experiences that we have, and we share, you know, how we can move forward. And neither one of us are satisfied to sit just doing this. We have plans to move forward. I know that I'm supposed to be doing something bigger, and so does she. And we both know that it has to do with working with others. So that's what they're saying. You might be doing something temporarily, but they're asking you to expand and possibly look about bringing in other people and joining other people on projects that will be rewarding for you. And they said that you will have financial rewards. You will be rewarded. Spirit always rewards us for giving of ourselves. So always think about what you can do to better the planet. Whatever you can do to better the planet is clearly going to be benefiting you. So, and if you're doing that, you're following your soul's path that you came here to follow, Spirit is absolutely going to make sure that you're taken care of. So I'm not saying you're going to be poor, I'm not saying you're going to be rich, but you will definitely be taken care of, and you will be emotionally fulfilled. So they're telling you to have confidence in your talent because you absolutely have it, and you have the ability to teach others. So, ooh, look at who came to see us. That's my boy. He's out for like 5 minutes. The cat's 30 pounds. Liger. Liger. He needs to lose weight, and that's pretty much all he does is come out the door, go over there, and go back in the window. Anyway, at least he came outside. Okay, so now we're going to go for the next card. I kind of want to shuffle them a little bit. I really connect with these right now. I do that a lot when I get a new deck. I fall in love with it, and as you guys know, I fell in love with the Archangel Power deck, and this one I'm in love with right now. All right, well, we didn't have to shuffle too far because it's that one. Okay, 7 of action. I hope I'm facing this correctly. 7 of action, and here's the little girl. She's standing in the snow, and she's got a snowball in her hand. Looks like she's about to pitch that snowball. And it says she's being called to act to claim your personal power. So she looks pretty confident. She reminds me of me when I was little. How funny. She says, feel confident, as your angels will give you the strength to say no when it's the right thing to do for yourself. Your struggle might actually stem from an unsettled inner conflict rather than a conflict with others. So they're saying, don't feel obligated to do what others want you to do. Don't feel, what's the word? I don't want to say the word bullied, but don't feel obligated, don't feel pressured, don't feel made to feel guilty by family, by friends, by anyone, by even ones that are on your spiritual path. Everybody's got an idea of what everybody else should be doing, and really it's our own heart that we need to listen to. And they're saying that that there's times that you need to take a stand, and it could be that this is the time. That this is the time that you need to claim your personal power. And you'll know right now if this is the time for battle, or if it's a time that a battle. It's not. I don't like to say the word battle, but an inner battle, like a struggle. So whether this is the time to stand up, or where this is one of those times that it really isn't simply worth the fight. So they're asking you to listen to your higher self and to your guidance that you get. Pay attention to the intuition and the messages that come to you. And don't allow fears to get between you and doing what you know is right. So there's going to be a challenge coming up unless you're already in the middle of it. If you find yourself in a challenge, they want you to step back and review the situation objectively. Try and pull your emotions out of it. Don't get emotionally caught up in it. Review the situation objectively if you can. Try and look at it like it's happening to somebody else, or like if somebody came to you with this message, how would you deal with it? Is it really a problem with the other person, or is this something that you're actually struggling with yourself? Because often what we'll find is things happen in our lives, and it's because they're mirroring events that are going on with us. I will even have clients come to me literally, and they will call me on the phone and they'll give me a scenario of what's going on, and it's exactly what's happening in my life. That's what Spirit does. It draws us to ones and draws ones to us that are going through similar experiences and mirror the similar things, so that we all learn together. Because it's easier to see in somebody else what they're going through than it is to see what's going on with us. So pay attention to when people come to you, and step outside of yourself in this challenge and see, is this something that I'm struggling with? Is that why it's bothering me so much? You know, if the things that we don't like about somebody else are usually things that we don't like about ourselves, or things that we're afraid of in ourselves, that are challenges in ourselves. Perhaps you're getting an opportunity to free yourself from old personal conflicts that have been holding you back. I was wondering if I should tell you guys this today, and I think I will. I did something this morning. I actually had a dream last night, and I have prophetic dreams, you know, and as I didn't understand what was going on in the dream as I was watching it. It was really detailed, and I'm involved in the dream, but I'm also watching the dream, and it showed me a lot, and at the end of it, I understood that it was speaking about my family, and it was my own personal history, and my mother is dead, and my biological father is dead, and the man that raised me is out of my life. And there was a lot of, it happened last year actually, the complete division between he and I, and it had to happen. It was about endings. You know, last year was all about coming full circle and wrapping things up. And he said some really, really painful and really, really hurtful things, and a lot of things that came from his own pain. And I understood that. My little sister died in a car accident many, many years ago, and it blew the whole family apart. And so he has a lot of pain that he carries. And then my mother died, and even though they weren't married anymore, they were soulmates, and he loved her, and there was a lot of pain in that. And so there was a lot of personal, you know, baggage and history and stuff, but he struck out, and he struck out at me. And I just lost my mother, you know, and this man I idolized. He was the closest thing to Jesus in my life. And I was raised in a very, very religious background with him. When I was a little girl, I was not. My mother was a hippie. I lived in Canada. I probably have told you guys, or if you've read on my page, I grew up in the forest. I'm very much a free spirit, and I was anyway as a little girl. I was climbing trees and barefoot, always in the forest. And my mother was gone a lot. She was a single mother, and so we stayed at my grandmother's, and my grandmother lived in the mountains. So we were in it was called Seymour Mountain, and we were in the mountains on the river at the mouth of the ocean. So we had it all around me. Water was everywhere, and the forest was everywhere. And when I was a little girl, I spoke a different language. I didn't have anyone to hang out with except for my cousin and my brothers, and no one really talked about it, which I find kind of odd. Even then I found it kind of odd, but that no one spoke about it, because it was clearly that I spoke a different language. And we didn't have a different language. We were Canadian, English, you know, Welsh. But I spoke a different language, and I didn't speak to them in it or other people. I spoke to the animals in the forest, and I spoke to my stuffed animals. And whenever my cousins or brother would try and copy my words, I would change the dialect, because I just knew for some reason it wasn't for them to know. And I'm 75% Welsh. We're very mystical, and I often wonder if it was Gaelic that I spoke. I don't know. But it happened for about 8 years of my life. And the only thing that I would do and include anybody in was I would call my brother and my cousins nicknames, and I would give them a name in that language. And friends of theirs would say, "Does she have a name for me?" Everybody wanted me to give them a name, but it was sacred. You know, it was very special. And my mom married my stepfather when I was 8. I didn't have a father. I never knew a father, and I wanted one really badly. And so when he married us, he was one of Jehovah's Witnesses, and I was taken from the forest. I wanted a father. I was very excited to have a father, but I was taken from the forest and put into a dress, and my hair was braided very tightly. And because I wanted this man to love me, I wanted to be everything he wanted me to be, and I was the best Jehovah's Witness girl you could ever imagine. And I was very devout, and I did everything I thought that I was supposed to do, but I was always this wild child, you know. I was always a very free spirit, and I was always told I talked too much, and I moved too fast, and I wasn't ladylike, and I was always beating myself up, you know. Nobody could tell me that, any more than I could tell myself what was wrong with me. I remember one time telling my stepfather, I'll never enter the kingdom, because Jehovah's Witnesses believe that Armageddon will come and great day of God the Almighty, and that at the end of that, the meek and mild will inherit the earth and reside forever upon it. And I was crying, and I said, I'll never be there, because I'm not meek and I'm not mild. And he said, Sherry, Jesus was, Peter was his favorite disciple, and he denied him 3 times. His favorite disciple, he turned his back on him and denied him, said he would be loyal to him, but he didn't. And when the army came, the soldiers came to take Jesus away, Peter lost his temper and he cut the ear off of the sword, and he was always in trouble doing things, and here Jesus gave him the keys to the kingdom. Now, he says, you're like Peter, and I thought, okay, you know, I mean, I don't still follow the same beliefs in the Bible anymore. I do respect the foundation that I had. It taught me a lot, and I know a lot of you follow the Bible, and I have great respect for God and his Son and for all of the angels. Clearly, I work with angels. But my parents left the congregation, or the truth, many, many years ago, and I stayed devout with it. And so when I had my awakening several years ago, I struggled. It's been 7 years that I've been fighting myself about, you know, is this wrong? Is this demonic? Am I a witch? And what is going on? And because it's so against what I was raised to believe. Anyway, my mother knew of it, and shortly before she died, I mean, she also had started studying back the way she used to believe when she was younger. Her and my father were no longer together, and she started working with Middle Eastern religion. And I remember I had flashbacks of a little girl. I was like 2, and I remember Lakshmi, the goddess of compassion, and she was standing on our mantle, and I remember Nag Chamba, incense burning, and I remember love beads, and I thought, man, I was a hippie kid when I was little, you know? I remember growing up on the streets of North Vancouver in Gastown, and it was like 2 in the morning, and my mom would be singing, and her friends would be playing the guitar, and I would be singing, and I was just 5 years old, and I loved that. That was my life, and I saw nothing wrong with it. They were amazing people, these hippie friends of my mom's. And so I grew up, though, as a witness. It's very, very strict, black and white, and you know, very uptight about what was right and what was wrong. And there was a lot of sadness in my family history. There was a lot of sexual abuse in my family, my mother and my grandmother, and all the way back. And so there was a lot of things that, you know, being in a religious household, I thought were wrong. And I have had a lot of expanding I needed to learn to do, which has been difficult for me, but it's been very eye-opening. And I've been doing this for 7 years, and as I said, my mother had done this as well, and it was very difficult with her and I. I won't go into the details, but it was a very hard relationship, and it had a lot to do with the way she was raised, and she was really hard on me, and it was hard. And so this letter that he wrote to me was very painful, and very mean, and very unfair. And at the time that he wrote it, I was so shocked because, like I said, I loved this man so much. He was everything to me, and I had chased him my whole life. You know, I had a real father. When I was born Sherry Lynn Standel, and when I was 8 years old, I was adopted by Bernie Bergman, and my name was changed, and I had something happen to me when I was in Sedona, my last trip, and I have 2 little sisters from my biological father, who I met when I was 18, but I never let him in my life because I was too loyal to the one who raised me. And, you know, my father was a witness, and I was a witness, and this man wasn't, so to me he was a heathen, which clearly is what I am now. I like that. I embrace the rebel in me. But my little sisters, I saw one of them had posted something on Facebook when I was with my friend Kieran in Sedona, and I'd had a numerology reading. I think I told you guys about this before too, where I saw that my last name, and I had like a meltdown because they were showing me when he did the numerology report. This is all education for you. That's why I'm telling you guys this story. If you really should have a numerology report done. It's really, really intriguing. But he did the numerology report based on my name. He said, I need to have your birth date and your name on your birth certificate. So I gave him my birth certificate, which had been changed when I was adopted. And I didn't think about that until we spoke on the phone. We were going to trade. I was going to do a reading for him. And I said, you know, I should probably tell you, that wasn't my actual birth name. I was born Sherry Standel. And he's like, oh, man, it makes a huge difference. So he did the numerology report based on Standel, but he had already done the one based on my first name, my adopted name. And he asked me about my adopted name. He said, you know, did you grow up in a very restrictive family? And I said, yes. And he basically went on to tell me who I had become. And he said, you know, that's very, it makes a lot of sense. It must have been very hard for you, because he says, were you very black and white? Were you very regimented? Were you very loyal? He says, because with the name Bergman, when you came into the world, you came in to serve others and to be of service and to put yourself last and put yourself behind. And man, he basically spoke of my entire upbringing. And then he looked at the one for my real name, Standel, and he said, now this makes sense to me. He says, I wondered when I did your numerology report because it didn't go with the person that I saw. And he said, the name Standel means you are a bohemian to the nth degree. And he said, you're a traveler. You can't stay still in one place. He says, you have a very mystical belief. You're very connected to the land and to the earth and to animals. And I thought, dang, yeah, I'm Welsh, you know, that's what I am. And he didn't know that. And anyway, it went on and on to tell me who I was. So this letter, when I was in Sedona, I looked down at my little sister Kelly's page, and I saw the name Standel, and something happened to my body, and my body started to shudder, and I had this giant epiphany. I mean, you know how I always say when I go to Sedona, I always expect an epiphany, and I generally don't have one till I get home. Well, I did. My body started to shake, and I started to cry, and I said, that's my name. And I said, that's my name. And I got louder and louder, and I started crying, and, you know, Kieran's he's very good to be, it happened for a reason for me to be in Sedona and to be with him. He's a very spiritual man and very, very calm, and so he just sat there and was just holding my space with me, and I just melted down. And I said, that's who I am, that's me, that's my name. I wrote that name for 8 years, and after 8 years she ceased to exist. No one asked me if I wanted to give up who I am. No one asked me if I wanted to leave the forest. No one asked me if I wanted to give up my language. All this stuff started coming out of me. You know, all these things that I didn't even know that I'd been carrying. And I cried and cried and cried and cried and cried, and it all came out. And for a few days, I think I even posted it on my page, I changed my name to Sherry Standel, and I wanted to change it back. And then I thought, you know, I don't know her either, you know. And I said, I've had so many names my whole life, I don't even know who I am, you know, anymore. And after a few days, you know, I thought to myself, I would have loved to have taken my mother's maiden name, Lation, because it's Welsh. And that's more who I am. I'm very Welsh. I'm very, you know, it's my grandmother's name. And she's the one pretty much who raised me until I was 8 and lived in the forest. And I was very connected to that. And then I thought, this is ridiculous. Nobody knows me as any of those names. They know me as Sherry Columbus, so it's just a name. But what I recognized is that I had disconnected from who I am, who my own personal self was, and I tried to fit myself into a mold of being who I was expected to be. I was expected to be this good little Christian girl, and I was so grateful to have this wonderful, loving, kind man raise me and give me his name, and yet it should never have happened because I lost my identity. I completely closed myself off from who I was, and I tried to fit myself into this mold. And that's why I had such trouble growing up. I tried to be somebody that I wasn't. And so when I had my awakening 7 years ago, when it started to happen, it's been happening a little at a time, you know, and these things have been coming and coming. And it all happens in divine order. We all figure it out, you know, when we're meant to figure it out. But the letter that he wrote me was really, really painful, and I had a dream last night, and it showed me that the reason that certain things aren't moving forward in my life is because I was holding on to something in my history that I hadn't let go of, I hadn't faced. And I thought to myself, I thought I'd forgiven my mother, I thought I'd forgiven and I thought I had forgiven everybody. I don't hold grudges against anybody, you know, it's usually, and so I thought maybe I have to forgive myself, and then I thought, I've forgiven myself, and then I realized I needed to write him. And so I sat down this morning, and I haven't posted on my page, you probably noticed, and I started early in the morning, and I didn't stop until, the letter wasn't done until 2:30. It's the longest letter I've ever written in my life. And I said, you know, basically, I don't know if he'll read it, and it doesn't matter, it's something that I needed to write. And I was actually guided yesterday, I kept getting messages that said you need to write your feelings, and so I did, and I did explain to him that it wasn't a blaming letter, and I told him how much I appreciated everything that he had done for me, and that I recognized what they showed me in the dream. He was in my dream, and in my dream, what's interesting is whenever I see God in my dream, he has my stepfather's face, because I had always looked at God as a disciplinarian, you know, because I kind of feared my stepfather. Even though I loved him, I feared him. And so that every time I saw God, I saw him as a disciplinarian. But it also showed me how much I loved my stepfather still. And I only call him my stepfather now because he asked me to. I never called him that. I'm doing that out of respect. And so in this dream, he, I can't remember the details of it, but it was him, and I recognized that I know he had written something. He had written a book or a song or something, and when he walked up, he was very successful, and he was very. My father was very handsome. He's very wealthy, and he's very successful, very accomplished, very. Like I said, he was like Jesus to me. My father, no one can compare to him. And if you were to meet him, very, very generous and compassionate and loving man, very beautiful man. And that's what this man looked like when he walked up in his suit. And he had finished this book. And a book or a song or lesson is basically your life story. That's what it means in dreams. And so I said to him, you must feel very accomplished. It's very well done. Meaning my life, I am recognizing and I'm acknowledging that what he did for me was I'm appreciative of it. And he said, oh, I didn't think that you would read it. I didn't think you were interested. You would be interested in that. Because of course what happened with us. And I said, no, I said, I'm very interested. I said, I'm more like you than you realize. And so I recognized that though I was angry that I'd lost a part of myself, I had pushed that away. He didn't do that to me. I pushed that away because I was trying to be someone that I wasn't. And this is a lesson for all of us out there. And we've had this lesson before in our readings, how important it is for us to be authentic. And here I was just a little girl, you know, I just wanted to make him happy. I just wanted to be loved. But what it did was, it taught me to do something in my life. And I'll admit it to you guys. I was told my real father had chosen to leave me. He didn't want the responsibility of me. So I felt like I was thrown away. Sorry, I'm crying. I felt like I was thrown away. And when my little sister died in a car accident, my parents split up and my father left the family again. And so he left me. And it started this chain of events in my life where if there was a man, I held my heart very tight. I don't give my heart away very easily. But if there's someone that I love, they usually come to me first. They're usually the ones that are interested in me first. And it takes a while before I fall, but when I do, I grab on really hard, probably out of fear that I'm going to lose them. And the more I hold on, the more they pull back, and the more they pull back, the more I chase. And so I've had a habit of doing this in my life, and I've chased people away that I've loved. And I know what it means. I've studied it and I understand it, and it's actually it's a condition, and I'm trying to recreate my life. I'm trying to go back and redo it, and I'm trying to capture the love of the first person that meant the most to me that I couldn't ever get back, which was my father. And then I was trying to capture my stepfather. When he left our family, I chased him, and I wrote him, and he kept saying, I'm not your blood, I'm really just your stepfather. I mean, he had me since I was 8. And I was like 35 years old, and he was telling me he wasn't my father anymore. So it was hard for me, and I kept chasing him. And so I've had this pattern. And when he left again this last year, it just threw me for a huge loop. And I recognized that what had happened in this dream, they were showing me that I have been trying to chase this. And it's like an addiction. It's an addiction, trying to hold on to what's leaving me. And my lesson, I've had 2 major life path lessons coming into this world, and one of them was patience as an Aries, which has been the most difficult thing, and I'm doing really well with it now, actually. People in my life are kind of shocked. But the other is surrender, and that is my hardest lesson, because as an Aries, I don't want to let go. I'm a fighter, and I want what I go after who I love, and I won't let go of the ones that I love, and even if they need me to let go of them, because everyone has their own life path. And so I end up pushing away the ones that I love the very most. And it's been really painful. And so I wrote him and I told him that I recognized, there's a dove right here. Dove means harmony and peace. And he's sitting right above me. So I told him in the dream that, in the dream and in this letter, that I recognized what I'd done. And that this letter was about me acknowledging
my actions, my part in it, my choices, the things that I had done, and also acknowledging what he had done, and that I understood that everybody makes mistakes and everybody does things with their children that they wish they hadn't, and I have. And, you know, none of us have it figured out. We all figure it out as we go along. And I was forgiving him, and I was forgiving my real father from leaving me. And then I found out, actually, years later, that my real father didn't make that choice. My mother made that choice. So I had a lot of anger there, and I had to forgive her. There's a lot of forgiveness that had to happen, which I thought I'd done. But clearly I was holding on to this hurt with him. He was the final one when he just chose to end this relationship with me and walk away as the only father I had left. There went my family. My mother's dead, my father's dead, my stepfather's gone, which leaves me and my 2 children, who I love very much, and I've got a really good relationship with my daughter. But my son has raised a witness like I raised him, and he's raised just like me. And though he loves me very much, he doesn't agree with my lifestyle and what I do and my beliefs. He thinks, you know, just like I would have thought as a witness, that talking to angels or dealing with this is, you know, borders on being, you know, demonistic. He doesn't believe it's angels. And so our relationship is very strained. And I have realized this morning that with my stepfather, with the man in my life that I love, with my son, though I love them, I have to let them go, all of them. And I have to recognize that we all have our path to walk. And the first thing that has to happen is forgiveness. And until you forgive those in your past that have hurt you, until you forgive yourself for the mistakes you think you've made, and until you let go of the ones that you're holding on to and allow them to figure out their own stuff, you won't be free. And you won't have what comes to you, what is meant to come to you. So that's what I did this morning. And I felt it was really important. There was something in this 7 of action that brought that out, and that's why I felt that I needed to say it. It said that perhaps the things that you're seeing in your life, that are mirroring struggles in your life, have to do possibly with your own inner struggles or things that have happened in your life that you haven't dealt with. So they're asking you to deal with the things in your life, and it's going to be painful. This has been really painful for me for many years, and it's painful now. But they're saying not to give up, that we never should, and have the courage of your convictions. And there's another dove. No, there's 3 doves. I don't know if you can see them. There's 3 doves in the tree. 3 means coming full circle, completion. So that's where I think I am today, which is a really powerful place to be. And so in this very emotional reading, and I apologize for that, I just feel it's very, very important. Spirit's telling me I need to share this, and I've actually been told by Spirit in dreams as well as messages that they understand that what I've been going through is very, very painful, and they understand that it's really challenging, and they're sorry. And they say that they appreciate the work that I've done. I was asked to do this work. I could have refused, but I was asked to do it, and I said I would. And they said that I will be compensated for all that I've had to go through. But the reason that I have to experience the things that I have had to experience, there's a lot of things I won't tell you about that have happened to my family and in my life and to me. Because we all have our sad stories, right? We all have things that we've gone through. We all have lessons that we've had to learn. Everything is lessons and everything is blessings. But everything that I have learned because of my path, because they told me, is you are a spiritual teacher. And you are meant to share what you've been through. You are meant to share your pain. You're meant to share your lessons, and you're meant to share what you're going through. And when you do that, you will be compensated, and what we've promised you will come. And all I want in my life is harmony and love. And I have a lot of people that I love, a lot of amazing people. You all know who you are. But the fact that I've got 3 doves sitting above me right now, for you that are going through this, and I know I've got so many clients and friends that write to me, and I know the things that you're going through, and I know that you're struggling, and I feel it's really, really important that I open up like this to you, and I show you that everything isn't all wonderful in my life, and I struggle too, and it would be difficult for you to hear me say to you, hold on and have courage and have faith and trust that things are happening as they're meant. If I was having a really easy time of it, you'd be saying easy for you to say. But I'm telling you what I'm living it too, and I'm doing it. So the crow, when the crow first flew over my head, the crow means walk your walk and talk your talk. So that's what I'm trying to do, and be real and be honest. And every one of us is flawed. Every one of us has problems. Every one of us has hang-ups. We spoke about addictions and disorders. And I wrote last night a bunch of questions on my page, and I was asked, why so many questions? But they needed to be asked. You need to ask yourself how you feel about them and how you feel about others, and how you need to be very careful not to judge yourself and be very careful not to judge others. I have friends that have mental disorders. I have friends that have bipolar disorder. I have friends that have psychoattentive disorder. I don't know if you understand it, but it's a combination of schizophrenia and bipolar. It's very, very challenging. But these people aren't crazy. I love them, and they're loving, and they're good. And I feel like the little boy across the street, he's autistic, and I've made friends with his mom, and you know, her life's really challenging with him, and I said, you're so blessed to have him, because autistic children, the reason they're brilliant, they're so, so connected to spirit. They are more connected to spirit and open to spirit than we are. And I think that's why it's so difficult for them to function in this world, because they're still so connected to where they came from. So I'm asking you to please be understanding of people with disabilities, and don't look down upon ones who have alcoholism or drug addiction or bipolar or mental disorders. We all struggle. I have addictions. I have an addiction to chasing when I'm left. You know, that's an addiction. It's a pattern. Any pattern that you have is an addiction. And it's some things that you're going to fight with it your entire life. Some things you can overcome. There are people that have been alcoholics that are alcoholics. You're always an alcoholic, but haven't had to drink a drop in years. Someone I love very, very much that I call my papa. He's a recovered alcoholic and was for years. And what a wonderful man. I love so much. And I'll tell you that my father, my real father, and my grandfather, and my great-grandfather, and my uncles, and every male member of my family, all the way back on both sides, except for my son and my grandson, are alcoholics. None of the women were affected, but clearly we all have a tendency like that addictive gene in us, you know. And it just shows up in different ways. Some people are addicted to exercise. Some people are addicted to food. Some people are addicted to shopping. And just because your addiction isn't something that you have to go to the hospital for or have medication for, doesn't mean that you don't suffer from it. It just means that those people have a stigma attached to them. So this was a huge, huge epiphany day today, just like Spirit told me it was going to come. And I was meant to tell you. I was asked to tell you, so I'm sharing it with you. And I don't have any shame in doing it. I love who I am. I'm very, it's probably the first time in my life that I do love who I am. I'm insecure. You know, I don't see myself probably as other people see me. I have a lot of insecurities. But I'm working on it, just like all of us. And I'm here and I'm being asked to tell you guys, don't give up and do love yourself, and recognize that you need to love yourself first. That you are the most important person. Jesus said, love your neighbor as you love yourself. You have to love you. You need to be able to look in the mirror at yourself and say, Sherry, I love you. I support you. I will never leave you. And if I'm never with anybody else again in my life, I'm good enough for me. And that's what you need to say for yourself. I don't know if there's much more you can take listening to this reading, or much more that I need to say, but the dove message also means to take a breath. So I need to take a breath, and it's really good that I'm sitting outside here. My neighbors are behind me. I can hear them, so they're listening to this, and I hope it's a good witness. I have no problem at all speaking about how I believe, and that's another message I meant to give to you today, is that you stand in your truth, and you speak your truth. And whatever your heart tells you your soul's path is, that's what you do. Don't make yourself over to be what somebody else wants you to be. Don't try and force your children into a mold that is you, if they go in a different direction. In school, you know, my brother was forced to write with his right hand. He was left-handed, and he didn't do it. He's very artistic. Left-handed people are often very, very artistic. My son also was left-handed, and they made him write with his right hand. He was very shy, and he did it, and he's so angry that he did, but he's very artistic. If your children have an affinity for something that's different than yours, or if they're different than you, look into it. Look into it and try and try and understand where they're coming from. Because each of us came to this planet. We're souls that came to this planet to live our life path. We didn't come to live your life path. I didn't come to live my mother's life path, my father's life path. I came to live the life path that my soul chose for me before I came here. And I'm living it now. I'm 50 years old. You guys probably don't know that. And that's always been really hard for me to say. But it took me all this time to embrace who I am and not be afraid to say that, and to understand that this is my life and this is what I'm meant to do. And this is who I am, this is what I look like. Maybe I talk too much. Maybe at my age I shouldn't be climbing trees. You think. I will, until I can't climb another tree. I will continue to do and say and be exactly who I am, because this is who I am. And though it makes my son afraid for what I do, and my relationship with him isn't as strong as it once was, I know I love him and he loves me. And I need to let him go figure out his path. And it might be years from now that he understands the importance of his mother in his life. Maybe not. But that's not my path. It's his path to walk. And so that's the end. I don't think I can go on much longer right now today. So I want to say thank you for tuning in, and thank you for bearing with the emotional delivery. I can't deliver what's coming from my heart if I can't be real, and my emotions are real, so here they are. If you want to follow me after this, I'm on LinkedIn, I'm on Google+, I'm on Angels Whisper Sherry Columbus, I'm on Sherry Columbus Angels Whisper, I'm on YouTube where all these videos go. If you'd like to subscribe, that'd be wonderful. My website is www.thewhispersofangels.com. If you would like a reading, if you would like dream analysis, help with that, I'm honored. This is my gift. I am very gifted, actually. I have very, very many gifts. And I'm getting more and more daily. I was promised that, and I'm so excited that it's happening. So I'm very confident with my ability to help, because I'm very, very connected to Spirit. And it would be my honor, and it is my honor, to work with Spirit. And so I wish you all a very blessed week, and thank you for listening, and God be with you. Peace.